back in the shop with another episode of how I keep wrecking racing transmissions, right? What's the problem with that? What's going on? So first things first, let me get this thing tore apart. So needless to say, this thing is tore up bad. A lot of teeth sheared off at third gear, both the counter gear side and on the main shaft. You can see a lot starting to fracture. Yeah, you can see some of the teeth that hadn't come off beginning to fracture also, so that thing was hurt bad. Have a look inside there. Yeah, a lot of material. You have got to earn a breakage like that. So far beyond that, the rest of the transmission seems to be in good shape. I'm gonna get the rest of this off, check the bearings. Everything will go in the ultrasonic, everything will get cleaned. I'm gonna work on getting a new gear set, but let's go from there. Okay, it's Tuesday night, the week of the Duluth Street Race. Heading down Friday to race on a closed street in Duluth, Minnesota, and we're getting ready. Check this out. Nova on the lift. First time I've ever had the privilege to work on a lift on any of the cars, so Nova is officially up in the air, and we're getting ready for race week maintenance. So what we got fresh heim joints, rod ends going in the Caltrack bars. We got a fresh transmission just put in the other day. Test drove tonight, everything's good. Adjusting the shifter, we're pulling the shocks out. We're gonna try to put a rear gear in the car. We're putting slicks on, and we're gonna go down the checklist. But like I said, Tuesday night, we're gonna get busy right now. Let's go get the shocks going. So this is the AFCO big gun that I run in the front of the car. I also run a big gun X valve in the rear of the car. But these shocks have been in the front for many years, and at this point, I guess the fluid's broken down and just the valving package, we've exceeded what these shocks can handle, meaning the amount of force we apply in extension when the car leaves, the shock cannot keep up and it tops out rather quickly. So what I'm looking to do, we're gonna pull these shocks apart, we're gonna put heavier fluid in it, which will resist transfer in the body of the shock and therefore make it more difficult to extend the shock as the front end of the car lifts. We're going to try to slow the front end down by putting thicker oil and by adjusting the shim package. So I'm going to rip one of these open and let's get into it. We got some of the shocks torn down here. We got one done actually, so I'm going to show you a little bit what's going on with the second one. So this is what's considered a twin tube shock. The reason for that is there's an external tube and an internal tube. It varies from a monotube shock, which would just consist of the outer canister. Internally, the fluid flow is also controlled slightly differently, but similar principles. The principle of operation and the principle of adjustment in a shock like this has to do with the valving package that's positioned right here. So there's an assortment of small washer-like shims on top of this valve assembly and also on the bottom. These shims restrict flow of fluid through the vanes one way, and then the other shim pack restricting fluid flow through the vanes the other way. So this body in the center effectively acts like a two-way check valve with variable resistance to the opposing fluid flow. So when you adjust the click adjuster on your shock, whether that's extension or compression, you're effectively adjusting the load on these shims, which dictate how much fluid force is required to lift the shims and allow flow through the ports. So by increasing pressure on the shim pack, you increase the resistance to flow of the fluid, thereby increasing the force required to extend or compress the shock. So in most cases, the most straightforward way to adjust the rate of extension compression at high and low speeds and really all kinematic conditions for the shock is by adjusting this combination of shims, which changes the force velocity curve for the shock assembly. Now in this case, I've got a race, I'm leaving in 2 days. I don't have any shims or any different shims for this AFCO shock, but what I do have is a little bit of a secret weapon, thanks to my buddy Barrett for the great idea. 140 weight gear oil. So we're gonna give this a try and see if we can stiffen these shocks up in short order in a pinch. Now we got a base of oil in there. Now we can start with our displacement bag. I'm going to try to get these to go in together, right in the bottom, seated down in there. Bag is clear. This style twin tube shock is not charged with any nitrogen or any type of compressed gas. I think in the future, build an adapter to attach a vacuum pump to draw the air out. But the biggest issue with this is air in the oil. Top of the gland nut, there's a little plug that can come out and you can vent the last bit of air out. One thing I have going for me is in a drag race application, I'm not doing a ton of mileage where the shock's gonna get very hot and these things are gonna become more of a factor. So for the limited use this is going to see for now, this is definitely what I consider a somewhat temporary solution, but it's an experiment nonetheless, so we're probably going to learn something. Shocks are in the car. The comparison was profoundly different. So by the hand dyno, significantly different resistance to extension. So on full tight before, they were tight, but I was able to eventually pull the shock through to extension. With the heavier weight oil in there, I could not pull the shock through to extension, so it was absolutely pinned down. This should be really interesting to see how this behaves in the actual car. Got the diaper on the car. We did a quick alignment on the steering, and now lock on to the back. We're about to pull the center section out. It's filthy, and we're gonna put a fresh gear ratio in it. So I got a set of 390 gears from Little Pickle, and we're gonna get these 430 gears pulled out. So the idea with the gear ratio change is, on one hand, driving on the street, it is nice to have a little bit lower numeric ratio just for cruising, get the RPM down. This car doesn't have overdrive, so 430, 28 tire and a 293 first gear off the starting line in a race situation is very aggressive. So this is going to load the clutch harder in first gear, allow us to slip it a little bit more off the line and make it a little bit less aggressive. So for the street surface coming this weekend, I'm hoping this is gonna help us out. So let's give that a go. Says we're getting ready for a street race, like mounting tires, mounting some sticky Mickeys in the parking lot of the Super 8.